Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Did you guys see the leaked AutoZone memo that warns of massive motor oil shortages? Listen to this freaking memo, dude. So first things first, this is an official memo from AutoZone. It's not some willy-nilly AI thing, okay? And blah, blah, blah. He's talking about how, COVID was crazy, but this might be crazier. Then he says, he's not mincing words. Due to the unfolding situation in the Middle East, we are facing the largest supply shortage of lubricating fluids in the modern history of America. And then he says, realistic middle-of-the-road estimates are for our average available supply in this product category to drop by 40%. So you basically can expect at least a huge percentage increase in price on these things, if not totally unavailable to get them. Now, does this have anything to do with the plan to put us into smart cities, to put us into electric cars, to make the Great Reset, and to enslave and control us with AI? Is that not a crazy thought?
Makes total sense to me. They're increasing the ethanol that they're putting in our fuel, which is in turn going to destroy our vehicles quicker. That's also going to result in much worse fuel efficiency, and that's on top of the increase in the price for this fuel that's not as good as it used to be. And now people are going to have to start putting off oil changes because they're not going to be able to get their hands on any oil. What are the odds that all of this stuff will be happening simultaneously? And what are the odds that all of this will be happening right when they're passing laws to put surveillance equipment in the vehicles? There's clearly an agenda to get most drivers off the road altogether. And so the only people who are able to drive anymore are the people who have a lot of money can actually afford to do it. And even those people are going to be under constant surveillance the entire time they're behind the wheel. Just full-on blindly trusting the government is the only way that you could rationalize this as all happening merely by coincidence. This is obviously being done by design.
Listen to this.
Water is now being traded on the NASDAQ just like oil. Okay? It is. Look it up for yourself. It's not going to be free anymore.
While everybody's been distracted, there's a crisis building that could hit harder than anything this decade, and it's water. Scientists call this day zero, the day that governments are forced to shut off tap water because supply runs too low. Now, this isn't theoretical. Right now, Florida is in a severe drought, and Texas is nearing critical shortages. This is already happening, and this is what most people miss. It's not a supply problem. It's a distribution problem. 71% of the earth is water, but only 1% is usable, and it's not where we need it. You get floods in one place, droughts in the other. That's infrastructure failure. AI, data centers use millions of gallons of water a day. Demand is exploding while distribution is breaking. Now, we can desalinate water, but it requires massive energy. And here's where things get interesting. Nuclear energy could solve the distribution problem. Companies like Oklo are building small nuclear reactors that could power desalination, water transport, and infrastructure at scale.
I put this clip in here because I wanted to talk about this day zero theory. We know that their end goal is to essentially claim ownership over every atom on this planet. Anything that materially exists where you can walk up and pick it up, put your hands on it. These elites want to claim ownership of it, have it logged into a system, and then find some way to monetize it, whether that be charging other people to have access to it or trading off of it like it's a stock or something on the stock market. And we know that there's only so much fresh water to drink on this planet. And right now, it almost seems like there's a concerted effort to try to run us out of drinking water. There's literally not a day that's gone by in the past several weeks that I haven't heard the phrase millions of gallons of water per day being used. Just think about what that means. That's not a normal phrase that you hear regularly. And now, all of a sudden, in the past month, it's become so common that you hear it constantly. And the crazy thing is when you look at the math and you look at the explanation that they're giving us as to why these data centers need so much water, I've watched videos where people are trying to break down the actual math and show why they need that much water, and it doesn't make any sense. And this idea that I'm about to throw out probably is not what's happening. It's just an idea. But we've got the theories that some of these data centers may be supplying something to these underground military bases. What if some of these are not actually what they're claiming they are, and they're literally just installed to steal water from the local community, to either funnel that to these deep underground military bases or to some sort of a storage facility so that they can later on sell that water back to the public? And again, I don't think that's what's happening. I'm literally thinking out loud, trying to figure out what could possibly make sense as to why they're using so much water. Because why do they need that much water when I can put Claude code on my laptop and run it without any cooling? And so you hear these guys make these statements about how it takes like a bottle and a half of water to answer a simple question anytime that you type something out to ChatGPT. So why does it take a bottle and a half of water to cool off a computer every single question that I send up to an AI when I can put a more advanced AI than ChatGPT on my own laptop and run it and not have to have any water to cool anything? And I can ask it as many questions as I want. Doesn't that kind of make it sound like they're still in our water? Again, I don't know, but what I do know is everything looks highly suspicious. They're clearly pushing this scarcity mentality. It seems like more than half of the aquifers in the country are currently at risk of drying up because of these data centers, and people literally cannot survive without drinking water. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing new laws on the books telling us that we can't collect rainwater, telling us that we can't use our own desalinators, telling us that it's against the law now to pull moisture out of the air and get our drinking water that way because someone owns all of those drops of water. I have a bad feeling that's the direction this is all headed in. What do you all think is the real reason that they're using so much water in these data centers?
It's almost every little cul-de-sac around our area, so I think it's a real problem.
Waymo after Waymo after Waymo enter this dead-end street, usually early in the morning.
I think yesterday morning we had 50 cars that came through between 6 and 7.
Neighbors on Battleview Drive started seeing the autonomous, driverless cars 2 months ago, but the groupings and large number of Waymos just started circling in and out in the last couple weeks. They even shared video with us when neighbors used this little guy to put him right out here in the street to block the Waymos from getting into the cul-de-sac, and you can imagine what happened next.
And we had at one point 8 Waymos that were stuck trying to figure out how to turn around.
The Waymos are...
All of those Waymos taking over that cul-de-sac in Atlanta is very reminiscent of this movie right here, Leave the World Behind. I mean, that is some bizarre stuff. And again, all of those driverless cars taking over a cul-de-sac like that, that is creepy. That is terrifying. What is going on anymore? There is a lot of strange things going on.
Isn't Waymo the company that recently was exposed as not actually using this AI to control the automation of the vehicles? Aren't they the ones that were recently revealed to have been using guys from like the Philippines to remotely drive these cars around? Guys who probably can't read and understand English, so they can't read our road signs. Guys that have probably never even been to the United States, so I can about guarantee they've never had any experience driving on American roads before, which I'm certain is a very different experience than it is driving in the Philippines. And with the way these tech companies operate, they probably didn't even check to see if these guys had a local driver's license in the towns that they live in. But when you've got glaring issues like this, where you have 50 vehicles showing up to the same location every morning on repeat, and no one seems to know what's causing it, I think it's time to get those things off the road. I keep waiting for them to come out and say that they're going to outlaw these self-driving cars anyway. You get in the comment section on this video right here, and it's comment after comment of people claiming that they've either almost been hit by one of these or they were knocked off a bicycle by a Waymo car. The people that live in the areas where these things are functional do not seem to be very fond of them. But with the moves that the government's making right now in regards to our oil and our fuel and all these things, it's probably not going to be that long before it's the only option you've got to get back and forth to somewhere.
Breaking news, which is of course 100% a part of the plan, which we all knew for many years, except people are still saying this is a conspiracy. The president of Mexico announced at the 89th Banking Convention, I'm sure that banking convention really represents the people, in Cancun, that cash payments at gas stations and toll booths will now officially be phased out. Digital payments are set to become mandatory for fuel and tolls by the end of 2026. Now, surely you know that the word mandatory means nothing if you say no, right? Imagine if everyone just refused to pay anything to the toll booths and gas stations. And I know you think that would put a lot of stress on the average person. Of course it would. But think of how much stress that would put on the system. Or if people still, okay, sure, we can pay credit card, debit cards at gas stations and toll booths, but this year we're all not going to pay blank. Something that puts stress on the system. They'd have to roll this back. Oh, sorry, you still want to pay cash? No problem. That's all it would take. Just a micron of organization and effort in conjunction with everyone connected. All this stuff would dissipate easily. But you see where they're trying to take us, into a more synthetic, a more digital world. They also, since I think this new president came in, Mexico is now allowed or is somehow growing genetically modified corn, which they fought against for many years. And if you know anything about GMO corn, let's just say your fertility isn't exactly benefited from it. Here's an article that was released 2 days before 9/11 about how scientists have created the ultimate GM crop, contraceptive corn, waving fields of maize that may one day save the world from overpopulation. And it goes on to say that a company called Epicite made a gene, a human antibody that attacks sperm, and they put it into genetically modified corn.
I want to know who made the decision that these food companies can just genetically alter our foods, intentionally adding elements to them that are going to have a negative impact on our overall health. I want to know who decided that that could be done, and no one had to tell us about it. I'm all for scientific experimentation and trying to make new discoveries, trying to find ways to advance or improve on our quality of life while we're here. But them doing stuff like this and not even bothering to tell us about it is what informs most people that they shouldn't be trusting our federal government. And unfortunately, I think it's just a matter of time before we experience this new no cash law here in the United States as well. They just don't want us to have anything that they can't keep track of, because the way they look at it, all that money truly belongs to them. It's just temporarily in our possession. And they literally look at it that way. So we're all sitting here getting angry because some elite wants to have access to our checking account, but they feel entitled to do it because in their mind, all the money belongs to them. And if something belongs to you, you should have a right to keep track of it, right? But this is absolutely coming. I think my biggest worry is that it's going to be tied to the beast system, that there's going to be some sort of implantable device that's going to be a requirement for you to access or become a part of this digital economy. Because if that's the way they decide to handle it, there goes a large percentage of the population. That will be the first significant wave in the depopulation agenda. Because when they roll that out, we're going to see mass non-compliance. And I know that's the group I'll be in.
Okay, Charlotte, North Carolina, start their water restrictions. Get ready.
Starting at midnight tonight, mandatory water restrictions go into effect in Charlotte. This means people can only water their lawns twice a week between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Odd number addresses can water Tuesday and Saturday, even number on Wednesday and Sunday. Other restrictions include not washing your car at home, not filling pools, and no power washing. Now, we have received several questions from viewers asking how Charlotte Water will enforce these restrictions and if there are fines. WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg verifies for us tonight.
To get answers, we went straight to Charlotte Water Public Affairs Manager Jennifer Frost. First, many want to know how Charlotte Water will monitor neighborhoods to make sure people are not going against restrictions.
Charlotte Water is going to enforce mandatory restrictions two ways. One is as we are doing our day-to-day business, we're going to be on the lookout for violations. The other way that we are going to enforce this is by having our residents call 311 or use our online reporting form to report violations.
Frost says if they get a call, they will send a technician to the home and look to see if these violations are legitimate.
We'll be looking for certain criteria to make sure that it is a valid violation.
If it is, that person will get a warning.
We'll be sending out a letter, an email, a phone call, and also leaving a door hanger, because we want to make sure that our customers are aware that we are in mandatory restrictions.
How many data centers Charlotte has?
Again, that is followed by a $100 fine, and fines will increase if it continues. But what about businesses and parks that use water?
The way our restrictions work is right now we're restricting discretionary uses. What's still allowed are community and business uses. We're asking everyone to conserve. So what that means is that park and recreation or public facilities can still operate their spray grounds and their public pools.
People are still allowed to use drip irrigation, hand water plants, and use commercial car wash facilities, which use recycled water. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Wait. They not tell you they wanted y'all to start going to make y'all start going to car washes across the United States, because they say car washes save more water than you trying to wash your own car at your home. And didn't I say they're going to come up with laundromats and say it's cheaper to wash clothes at their laundromat than to wash clothes at your own house? Get ready. It's coming.
I think the most shocking part about that story is that they expect these citizens to just rat on each other. And the first person that rats on someone needs to be publicly shamed to the point that they consider leaving the area. These politicians bring these data centers in there so that they can put money in their pocket because they're doing all these backroom deals against the desires of the citizens that live in the area. Then the data centers are going to use up all of the drinking water, so everyone in the area is going to have to start restricting their water usage, even though they paid for the infrastructure, even though they're the ones that are paying the water bills. So everyone in that community is probably furious right now that they're having to go through this because it's not necessary. They didn't have to put the data center in there that was going to use up all of their drinking water. And so now that the entire community is suffering because local politicians did some dirty backroom deal against the wishes of the public, they want to limit everyone's access to a vital resource, and then they expect them to tell on each other if someone's not following the new rules. Seems to me like the easiest solution here is to shut down that data center. Then everyone will have all the water they want. Some of these towns are going to have to start fighting back against this stuff, or this is going to be everywhere.
Most people think that this right here is enough to block facial recognition, but when you go into security camera environments like this, into the mass surveillance environment, they're actually using IR light to identify you, not visible light. Because of that, many people think that a mask like this and normal sunglasses like these, which are polarized and high dollar, are going to block them from facial recognition, but they're entirely wrong. You see, the National Institute of Standards and Technology proved that the top 50% of facial recognition algorithms can identify you by 92% accuracy with just your eyes. And when I wear these normal sunglasses, my eyes are fully visible, meaning that facial recognition can still figure out who I am. Instead of covering your face, especially the lower part of your face, which we know by 2020, algorithms have moved upward. They're prioritizing the eyes instead of the lower jaw and the mouth. Instead of doing this, what you need is a simple solution that's going to cover the majority of the touch points on your face where facial recognition is actually targeting. Facial recognition is actually targeting the eyes. It's actually targeting the nose bridge. And it's trying to figure out the geometry of this area where you have tons of data points that it can use under IR reflectivity to figure out who you are. With Vader sunglasses, we eliminate that IR reflectivity. We eliminate the contrast. We eliminate the shape. We eliminate the pattern. And by messing all of this up, the new facial recognition algorithm cannot compare your current measurements to a past measurement of you in their database. If you want to block facial recognition, you don't need to think about your current sunglass solution. You don't need to think about just masks. You don't need to think about just wearing a hat. What you need is something to effectively block and distort the geometry of your face, which is what we have done here with Vader sunglasses. These look like normal sunglasses like everything else, but under these security camera conditions, they're going to perform 100 times better. And guess what? They go very well with the mask, and they go very well with the hat to give you a complete privacy solution. In most of my everyday scenarios, I wouldn't wear a mask like this, but I would wear a Vader's and I would wear a hat with it, and then I'm covering the majority of my face to give myself the privacy I deserve.
That video was clearly made as a form of advertisement for these Vader sunglasses, but I thought it was interesting because of the details that he's giving about how these algorithms detect your face and determine who you are based off the shape of your eyebrow and your eyes. And this makes sense that they would have went in this direction because of the pandemic, because most of the population was walking around for 2 years with the bottom half of their face covered up. But if you recall, about halfway through the pandemic, suddenly with a mask on, with glasses on, with a hat, you could suddenly still use Face ID to unlock your iPhone. So I'm thinking it was about that point that they figured this out and updated the algorithm and started using those specific features as what they're looking for to determine your identity. But this is just useful information for everyone to know. I'm not promoting these particular sunglasses. I've never heard of them. I've never seen them before seeing this video. I don't know if they're worth $5. But now we know where to put our focus when it comes to trying to figure out how to hide ourselves around these AI algorithms that are trying to identify you using facial recognition.
Breaking news, this guy breaks down who is behind digital ID and the control grid. It's Politi Bible is his username, and he put together a great video. Watch just 60 seconds of it and send it to anyone who's still sleepwalking their way into this dystopian nightmare.
Are the entities and the forces behind digital ID? I've mapped it out. The top 4 are the UN, the WEF, the World Bank, and the ID 2020. Let me take you through it. So the first main culprit who kind of started a lot of this is the United Nations. They have Sustainable Development Goals, and in 16.9, they state by 2030, they want to provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. These UN agencies want to frame digital ID as necessary to participate in the digital economy to access services. This is how they're going to lock you in. Now, the UN is working closely with the World Bank. The World Bank has a program called Identification for Development, or ID4D. This promotes biometric digital ID systems for low and middle income countries. They're always going to start with them because it's easier to get them to comply and to roll it out. And they'll gradually work their way up to the first world countries.
So, do you think he's wrong? If so, what amount of fluoride are you consuming? Because this is exactly what's going on right now. None of these organizations are our friends. Are they promoting organic food? Are they making healthy organic food stations and making water clean around the world? No. Are they helping the fertility crisis that's happening where people are trying to have babies and can't because of all the crazy chemicals in the food, air, and water supply? No. Now you can check out this full video on his page.
And them rolling this stuff out in these lower income countries first is while we're seeing them make the announcement that they're going to go cashless in Mexico by the end of 2026. I think a lot of American citizens make the mistake of assuming that these other countries may be potentially subjected to this evil dystopian form of governance. But that could never happen in the United States. They're mistakenly assuming that just because we have things such as the Constitution and our Bill of Rights, that we're not going to have to worry about something like this sneaking its way into our country. But the reason they think that is because they think that our politicians actually care about whether or not they're abiding by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But none of them care about anything except putting money in their pocket. They don't care anything about anything except for what corruption can I get away with, or what type of illegal or unethical activity can they involve themselves in that's going to bring them more power and money. And an easy way to see that our government doesn't care about the Constitution and doesn't care about the citizens' rights, just look at what's happening in North Carolina right now. An agency that does not have the right to start creating its own laws, an agency that does not have the right to start creating fines and charging fines to people for not following their new laws that aren't legal to begin with, is not only ignoring all of that and doing it anyways, but they're also requesting neighbors to tell on neighbors. That's directly out of 1984. So a lot of these issues that we're worried about may potentially come to the United States at some point are already here in small pockets. And it's only a matter of time before it's everywhere. And the Constitution, a piece of paper, is not going to save us. That's going to take something physical. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to click like and don't forget to drop a comment if you want to increase the odds of my future uploads showing up in your YouTube feed. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.